Hey everyone, welcome back. This is part two of Hollywood. Thanks for coming back to hear a little bit more.
Yes, we've got so much in store for you. So we are going to play the rest of the episode right now. Thanks for coming back. Hollywood!
Hollyweird.
What makes the heart beat? Because I think with like today's day and age and like environment that like there's so like I like go and sit in the hairdresser chair and everybody's like, "Oh my God, the world today. Like what's going on?" Like people are scared. You know what I mean? It's like when you're having like random conversation with
hmm
people and like that comes up and like I feel like there's like almost like a silence like among celebrities because they can't really voice their opinion
You're right.
on things like, and that's like my part of like selling your soul, like be you have all this fame but it's almost like you have to like lock everything up and not have a view and try to keep everybody happy and try to stay on everybody's good side and like be wearing the right outfit and not getting photographed back. Like it sounds like
Well,
hell
look
to me.
look what they do to them if they do speak up because there are famous celebrities out there that are still they're still out there, but they start to make them like all these ones that they'll say have turned crazy. I I I would assume there's a possibility that they're not. Is and for a while we all believed it. We all believed the feed that was being sent to us. Oh, this one's going crazy now. Like, don't listen to them. Like
And
they're
the media pushes
the
it like
media will
every
push it because
because
it's
it's
all being
all owned
controlled.
together.
Yeah, so yeah, then they think you're crazy. Like if you're saying if you deny it because it's in the media and there's all this, you know.
And then like look what they've done to Britney Spears.
I know.
That's just like unbelievable the way they treated women in the 90s and early 2000s and like asking 17 or 18, I forget how old she was, but she was like barely 18 and are you a virgin? Like why would that be any of your business? Why is that
Yeah.
something that we're asking these young
Yeah.
females? It's just mind-blowing to
Well, there
me.
was
Like
yeah, there was a lot going on back then that was definitely we would look at today like, what? What?
and that's what like I think what happened was is that Hollywood kind of had this control over the narrative for a really long time. People believed like there was like this like glitz and glamour and it was so wonderful. And then,
Mhm.
now with Netflix, um, and you see like all these documentaries about like not enough women in TV and like kind of pointing out like the disparities and like the difference of like just a cartoon. You can make it any character. There's still only 20% females working on it and like 80% men. And
Yeah.
just like going through like all of these different things and Reese Witherspoon is in it. I'm gonna have to look it up. But she talks about how Gina Davis is the main producer and the main person in it, kind of like who's been collecting all the data. But Reese Witherspoon, like at the height of her career, she said that she had a meeting with every single Hollywood studio. Hey, what's up? What do you have for me this year? And they were all like twiddling their thumbs. Nothing. We've got
hmm
nothing for you. And she was just like shocked because she was a huge star.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, I think they were like, we're done with her.
Yeah.
Who's going to be the next new thing? We don't want her
hmm
anymore. For whatever reason they chose, that's what they chose. And so she made her own production company and now just sells all of her stories to Netflix. If you notice, Netflix buys every single one of her things. And so this is like how probably right at the height of her career, right when Netflix started to come out, was probably that crossroads was pretty close. So she was able to kind of jump on that bandwagon. Netflix was like, absolutely, we'll have
Yeah.
some Reese Witherspoon movies. We would love to have you. And
I think it's important to add that Netflix, I have this up here, it's a publicly traded company, so its shareholders own it, which is why the reason why you keep saying Netflix for everybody that's listening, if they didn't know that, it's not owned by any one or two people that are like in control of it. So that's what makes it unique right now until that
Mhm.
changes down the road. There's definitely like people that have a lot of shares in it, but still like it's not solely owned by, one person or one company.
Yeah,
So
hopefully they
that's
won't sell out.
that's why the all of these extra films are able to come in there and float like she has her films in there. So that's what makes it really cool.
Yeah, and I think it all kind of started with the Me Too movement too. Was like a
Yeah.
huge thing because you don't. even realize, like when you hear the stories, I'm like, this is only such a small percentage of the stories. Again, this is my opinion, but I think there are a lot of famous actors that you're looking at who did sleep with somebody to get where they're at.
Yeah.
Like I don't, because I know how apparent and how normal they make it to be. And like people like that producer, like that was talking to you, they have very like direct ways of saying things, and you'd feel like a dime a dozen.
Yeah,
And
well,
like
once you're picked, forget it. Like you're sort of you would feel stuck. Like if I don't do this, then I get sort of blacklisted from being able to do any other projects in the future. And whoever that guy knows, he's going to talk to other people and they're going to say, don't work with this person. And then before you know it, like you're not going to have any work because you don't agree with like what they're doing, you
and,
know?
and then also there's just like a part of like whether it's like in a literal evil sense, like I do feel like you do kind of like sell your soul to the devil just a little bit. I can't remember. Let me look at what I'm going to say next. Yeah, so just basically Hollywood's losing control over the narrative. And, Hollywood's been spending billions of dollars to try to shut down Netflix. There's
Oh,
a
I
whole,
believe it.
like, they've been trying everything that they could do. And then, so a big reason, maybe it's a good time to talk about, like, why is this SAG-AFTRA union is on strike right now, and it's because of the streaming services. So a little bit ago, you were saying that it wasn't hard to make a living and get medical benefits when you lived in LA to make like the 26, $28,000 a year. And you have health benefits, which is wonderful, and that's like a big thing. And so a way these like big actors keep that is because if you were in a really big movie in the 80s or 90s or on Family Matters or Full House, something like that, you make money every time it's on TBS at 3 p.m., 4 p.m. You get paid again. And so these actors can just book a few small jobs each year, but then also get paid a ton of money on TBS because you have a show that plays, 10 times a week.
Mm-hmm.
And then Nick at Night like picks it up for a half hour. You get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So that's how these people were making money. And then they also make money off the DVD sales. And so what's happening now with the streaming networks is because it's a brand new platform, it's not written into their contracts.
Mm-hmm.
So when say Full House, I don't know if it is, but say it's on Hulu,
Okay.
okay? And only on Hulu, a streaming network. Someone can get to it and watch it anytime that they want. Those actors don't make any money from it. They're not making the residuals.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, people aren't buying the DVDs anymore because they just get it on Hulu.
Mm-hmm. Well, you need a subscription to Hulu, don't you?
But that doesn't matter. The actors, it's not in their agreement
I see.
from the 80s. It says like, and that's what the union's trying to take care of. They're like, oh
So
no,
it's
no,
kind of like
no.
a bootleg version.
Oh,
It's like LimeWire for the future.
well, I think the producers, the people that own the film, like there are some people that are making money, but
Mm-hmm.
they're the only ones.
Okay.
And so what's supposed to be happening is they're supposed to be getting paid. Like Netflix does not release how many clicks anything gets.
Okay.
Nobody knows. It's a secret. They show you their top 10, but we don't know if something got 5 million views or 2
Yeah.
million views.
Yeah.
And they do that solely because then the actors could be like, oh, wow, well, then you actually should owe me this much money, right? Because the more clicks and the more money the actors should be getting paid. So there's no contract, so there's just no money. And so the actors, because no one's buying DVDs, these things aren't playing. They have these contracts on Netflix or whatever now, so they're not playing on TBS anymore. And so they
Mm-hmm.
have $0 coming in. Actors stay rich by residuals. The residual
Yeah.
pays off of old work. And
Right.
so you're still using their likeness. So I think that they should get paid 100%. And then you also like another really good example is the Gilmore Girls. The one guy in that, he said that Gilmore Girls was such a huge success for Netflix. It was the number one show for like
Wow.
a while. And people, because what happened was people watched it in the 90s or the
Mm-hmm.
early 2000s, and now they're watching it with their daughters that are now teenagers. And so you all like
Mm-hmm.
it was like a really cool experience for people to go through and like not be the daughter anymore, but be the mom's age. And then
Yeah.
anyway, so I know a few people that did stuff like that. And so there was a huge success for Netflix. Like like a number one show,
Mm-hmm.
like the best show they had for however many weeks.
And
And
they
they
should have gotten paid for that. Yeah.
right, like you have a successful show all over again.
Yeah.
And so they don't get to reap into any of those benefits. And apparently there's no money there. Like the streaming networks aren't, other than Amazon Prime and Netflix, everybody else is in the negative. Amazon and Netflix started to get big. And so and really Amazon got really big because everyone has an Amazon account and then you just get it for free anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So like they kind of just had an easy in because of another business that they had built up and they were really smart with that. But everybody else threw a bunch of money into Hulu and Peacock and they're all losing money. People, it's not a big popular one. Not a lot of people are giving them money. Like Apple TV, I feel like isn't really doing that hot. They don't even have that much content on there when you go on.
Mm-hmm.
And so everybody else doesn't even have the money to pay the actors.
Okay.
Netflix and Amazon Prime can afford to, but everybody else is losing money on their streaming. So to have to pay the actors puts them into an even bigger hole, which is why I think there's such a holdup.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. Hopefully they'll be able to figure things out. But I also feel like there's going to be a
But
big
was that part
shift.
of the writer's strike?
No, the writers were striking for other reasons, but
So what strike are you talking
I'm
about?
talking about the SAG-AFTRA strike.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just speaking about the actors because the WGA actually hit a deal this weekend.
Yeah, I do.
And
Yeah.
so it's preliminary, so hopefully they'll have some because we definitely want those people to get their jobs back and put things back into production.
Well, you know what else they're trying to do is also take people's likeness, like for background actors. That was like a big thing that they're saying we could literally scan take you in for 1 day of work, pay you, scan your face, like get everything we need, and literally use you from that day forward, like AI
Like forever.
forever. And they were like, what? Like, that's crazy. Why? Like, but also, why would I want it? I mean, I know in one way it's like, oh, that'd be great. But then in another way, it's like, what if you like doing it? Why, like when I want to come on set, I want to do whatever. So they wanted to do that for background actors to start with, and maybe some like big stars, like so like they don't have to come in, like they could just use their face for whatever. But like here, it's like, first off, I don't agree with this at all. I found out recently, I don't know if you ever watched Power Rangers, but like if you ever did, there was like the evil guy, I think.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So he spoke up, if people haven't seen that flow through social media, and
Mm-hmm.
he said, I got paid $100 for 1 day where they came and did my like, had me take a couple, like, right, do a couple takes, say a couple lines or whatever, and then they sent him home and that was it. And that show ended up being a huge hit. And they used him so much throughout it, and he never got paid again from that point on. And I felt like that's so unfair, like for that actor, because not only did he not get paid for it, but like, did he even do anything more from that point on? Like maybe he could have if he had more of like, hey, like I was like this show was great. I was a part of it, da 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 da. Like, can he even say like I was a part of it since it was just my face and the rest was mostly like create our AI. It was like kind of create like computerized, right?
Yeah.
At the time. So it's a shame. And then there's something like we can create full-bodied people now through AI. Like you'd never even know that it was a fake person on there. Do we want to see that? Like, do we want our do we want television and movies just to be all like fake and not a real person
Oh
like
my
in
God.
that body anymore? Will that still give us meaning, or will we just be like that's just fake, like that's just studied information, really studied from humans and programmed?
I mean, I just can't really fathom why people think that television is better than theater. Because like to me, like to even take television to even such a more like non-human like
Yeah.
behavior like you're describing for me, like there is nothing more powerful in being in a room in a theater with 500 people all feeling and breathing like at the same time, watching a scene happening in front of you, and like experiencing a story and going on that ride. And like, I don't know if it's spiritual, like how like church might be spiritual. People might think that it's like better to get um like a higher energy because you're all together in that moment. And like,
Sure.
I kind of feel like we're all connected in a way. And so like how like unconnecting would that be as
Yeah.
humans? Like I
Yeah.
feel like that would be really, really, really sad. Um, just because I believe in like so much in like the art of acting and theater and like have like a true love and understanding of like why it's so important and like how the art has now like been turned into like a business and how like this business like of like art like the thing that like brings people together the most is full of so much greed
Yeah.
and like like using so much like treating people awful
There's a lot
and
of layers to this greed, like that we won't even touch on all of those right, in this episode, but that's why
it's
you're so emotional too. Like it's not just like, oh, it's just for money. It's so much more than even
it
just
brings
money.
people together. Like, what do we spend all of our time doing? Like, we want to be in front of the television. We have some human yearning for this type of fulfillment.
Well, disconnect, right? But then it's also like I could either television aside from theater, but like both. Like you go to enter another world
Hmm.
that maybe mirrors your own and you can release the feelings and emotions that come with that. It's a connecting thing. It's like it's that mirror image, or it's a fantasy where you can put yourself there, but it seem like it could ever be a reality, right? Like there's all of those things. Then there's comedy, there's the feel good, there's the like
Laughing. Who doesn't want to
your
laugh all the
belly
time?
laughs.
I
I
love
love it.
that. So
Yeah.
that's great, because we can't just get to the theater every day, right? Like that's impossible. So, as much as I want to like pump theater up, like I also understand like the importance of television and being able to have it right at your fingertips, right? Like we're used to that.
And have it be real and not made into some artificial thing. Like, I don't know. It's a preference. I don't know that everybody cares because there's a lot of people that play video games, right? And there's artificial characters in there, but
Yeah, so like the whole Hollywood thing has just become so fake and it just feels so built on like things that like shouldn't have been. They never should have happened. And the fact that they happen, like I just want Hollywood to like burn to the ground. And here are some of the reasons.
wow.
Like in Shirley Temple's autobiography, she talks about how when she had a meeting with MGM, that the like CEO or whoever the guy was that he met with her like exposed his genitals to her
Ugh,
and she was like a young kid, right? So like there's things like that, like the poor children. Like I always thought I was going to have my
yeah.
child as an actor, and I'm like, she would have to beg me,
Yeah, it
and I
would.
would never leave her side ever.
Yeah,
And like from what I hear, like they're not nice to the kids, and they really choose the kids off of like the parents too, the ones that they can get away with
yeah.
stuff. And then you have Marilyn Monroe. And so she worked with Fox in her documentary. It's not proven, but like apparently she was raped and had to have sex to like get her job. Um, and a lot of people were not nice to her. And like the way that they tried to use her as like a sex symbol, um,
Well,
really with
she took advantage of that, obviously, too. Like the way they used it, she also was like, I'm, she took control of it. Do you know what I mean? Like instead of having somebody force her, like she controlled it too, I feel like. Don't you
yeah.
think?
I mean, I have my own opinion, but I also watched like a super raunchy documentary.
Okay.
That's okay. Either way, Marilyn, in my opinion, she was very much coerced and like expected to act a certain way. And she actually had husbands at the time that were like beating her for like the things the studios were like, she
Wow.
like when you say own it, it's like funny because she felt like she had to do it, and then like she like her husband wouldn't like it, you know what I mean? And so she lived in a really complicated world where, and she really wanted to be a good actress, like she wanted
I
to be
believe
great,
that.
and
Yeah.
she really felt like she was more, but they never gave her an opportunity, in my opinion, to be anything but a sex symbol. Um,
Which they do to a lot of women.
yeah, and to feel like we have to like have like our breasts exposed, like, and just be like fine with that, like that's just like a given.
Actually, funny enough, I remember my first like college play that I was in. There was a lead role in there, and I was auditioning for it, and and it was for theater. But like one of the first questions was, would you be comfortable showing like your breast, like your one breast? Because at the end, the very last scene of it, which is a very famous scene, I don't know what they did in the past, but it was a very old play. It was called The Grapes of Wrath. And it was all about the gold rush and like families moving to California to like survive on a famine, all this stuff. And I remember that at the end, like the that lead character actually ends up feeding like an old man like from her breast because he's like malnourished, he's like dying. And like it was almost like his only way to survive. So it wasn't meant to be like a creepy scene, but it was so extreme for me. Like to think about that, I didn't do it. I actually was like, no, like
Good for
I'm
you.
not gonna do that. As somebody did said that they would, and believe it or not, like the closer they got to actually doing it live, like having to do it, they decided that they weren't comfortable anymore. And they ended up staying more covered up. But I was like, well, good for her for like changing her mind. You know what I mean? Like, and they were already so far in it, they couldn't like put anybody else in there. So she had to do it and they had to deal with like not, exposing. But even that, like, I don't know. Like, I know the professors to this day, like, I don't know that that was meant to be any sort of way, but like, I remember it being like extreme for like a fresh like college student, like it was definitely like wow.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
maybe it's just coming from a place of all of their years within the industry of like this is what you do. Like if
yeah.
you want to do it, you got to be comfortable and not be shy to like, if you're going to take a scene, you got to be comfortable like if you want to do that. And I don't think any of us experience thought we were going to experience that, you know, in college theater, but it popped in there. That was the only time that that ever happened, but I remember that that was something.
Yeah, that's wild. I know, and that's like a whole nother thing because now they have a lot of the people who are on set now, if there is a sex scene, as somebody who's like in control and like is trained in it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's like a sexual coordinator. I can't. Someone's gonna like be mortified that I can't remember the name, but I can't.
Somebody said, I think you're on the right page. Just somebody there, like, sort of guiding the whole thing to make it
Yeah,
like
to make sure because I definitely my first
safe.
sex scene was not safe, and I wish that they had somebody then because I was acting and the gentleman that I was in the scene with um was aroused,
Mm-hmm.
and like it was my first time, and it was actually a movie where it was silent because it was like a reenactment, so you didn't like our voices didn't matter.
Yeah.
And I was moaning because I was acting. Like I
Yeah.
wasn't actually. And so he like read it as like I was into it. And
Uh,
then like when we left, he was like asking for my number and like I guess we had Facebooked. And so he was like Facebooking me like I was gonna meet up with him. It was like awful.
uh,
So I
yeah.
definitely felt like taken advantage of. And then the next day, because I had two sex scenes in the one show. And so the next day, the guy that I was with, because the one played my husband, and then one the next day. my husband assaulted me. And then my
I
boyfriend
remember this.
that I was cheating on him with was the most such a gentleman. Like so professional. Like immediately when they called cut, he was like this.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, I really wish this was the first day.
Yeah.
And the other one was my second day because as a young actress, I really didn't know any better. And that's why I like these coordinators kind of being in there and like because not everybody's a pro. Like everybody always has their first time, right? And
Yeah.
so you don't know like what is like I didn't know like I should have been like, excuse me, he's got something going on
Yeah.
down here. Like we can continue the scene when you're not like that anymore. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I
Right.
would have the courage to say that now, but when you're young and you like don't want to lose a role, you put up with things. And I think that's kind of like what we're saying is like the industry is like built on these things where they people are taking advantage and like taken past like where they would normally their judgment would normally lead them. Like and
Yeah.
being in LA and being so poor and like feeling like, well, I have to have this job or else I have to move back home. And so they do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like I have no remorse for these production companies. Um, like Harvey Weinstein, obviously, like super creepy and just
Mm-hmm.
like awful that like so many women like had to put up with him in the 90s. And, like I'm just ready to just like forget this. I'm like so ready to just walk away and like build like towards a future of like realness and not so fake.
Mm-hmm.
And like, what is it? Like, what is it about LA? Like, that one is so luring, right? Like, everybody wants to move there, at least like the different people or the people that feel like a spark within themselves feel really drawn to Los Angeles. And then like when you find out like how dirty it really is, like after watching the Playboy documentary to like know like how 18-year-old girls to these people are like they'll just use them up and then spit them out.
Yeah.
Because when you're 18, you don't really know the world. Like I was in LA when I was 25. I had my 25th birthday there. So it's a little bit different, but like an 18-year-old girl in LA, they do not know enough. So, let's get like what it like I want to get more into like the art stuff, unless you have anything else you want to say about like Dirty Hollywood.
No.
You were talking about before we started that like you had a project in school and it was like, what is the purpose of art?
Oh, it was like just it was classes, it was theater. There's always always the question was like the purpose of theater or is an art form of, and we got into that together. Like it's invoking emotions in people. It's connecting. It's um like giving you an outlet to express yourself, but also to like allow that expression to like affect or change other, I don't know, maybe pick up from where I'm trying to go here because I feel like
Like if
you
you're
had said it really well earlier too.
well, I don't know, like I feel like in times of despair, like people gravitate even more towards art and like art can like really like help shape and form the future in a way and like inspire people when people
Oh,
need
inspire is a
inspiration.
good word. Yeah, inspire definitely.
Because that could be like, if we're just saying art, it doesn't have to be theater. It could be music inspires people every
Well,
day.
all forms of art, but we were specifically talking about, did you want to talk about all forms of art and like
I mean,
just the expression of it?
I'm always including it, but it doesn't like it's still focusing.
Yeah, because this episode's about Hollywood. It has to do with like honestly like the film industry, the television industry, and theater, you
Right, but
know.
the effect that art has in that sense is still going to carry through to like all of the other genres, I guess. But
Well, what
but
is the
yes,
purpose of making it though? Like, is it because it's money driven, or is it because you want?
I think it shouldn't be money driven. I
Mm-hmm.
think that it should be driven by your heart. I think that it should be driven by like, that's what kind of makes me sad with like all the things that we brought up. Like people are like losing a bit of themselves
Mm-hmm.
like giving a little bit of themselves away to just be on the show, just to make the money, just to be famous, and it's like it shouldn't be that way. Like I like that the industry has moved into a more stable world where like you can say no to things and your agent won't not work with you ever again, right? Like they can just respect that, And really in today's day and age, I can just be like, I have another obligation that day,
Mm-hmm.
and just say like I can't because I can't meet that day or whatever. And say it in a different way if you don't want to like offend somebody. But
I think though the beast of the greed is still there. Like I was using TikTok as an example earlier on before we were recording, and it was and I think if anybody does follow TikTok, you could use YouTube. YouTube's different though. I think TikTok is where the greed is slipping back in again, and they're starting to see how they can make money off of overnight going viral influencers. Like, TikTok is another version of like Vine, that used to be a thing like years ago, but now like this is the one that's taking off, and these people that started making fun little clips through TikTok um had success like over a period of time, and then people found them and were like, all right, we'll sponsor you, we'll do this, we'll do that, we will send you money, we will send you free stuff, but you have to, one, promote it, two, say you like it, and three, um uh you have to consistently try to get followers, and if you don't, we're going to drop you. So like, to a lot of people that maybe were just using the platform to have fun and like thought it'd be cool if they had a lot of followers like Facebook and Instagram do. Like it's like the same kind of vibe. It would just be cool to have that and say, oh, I have all these followers, and that neat. Now they're being used for monetary value and they didn't even realize it. But then like once they got into it, it was like, yeah, why not make money? This is cool. I can make money while I do this because I'm having fun doing it. And then suddenly there's that shift where it's like they've quit their jobs, they've quit everything else. They've moved, they've gotten a new home or new cars or whatever. And now they're sort of stuck following this pattern in order to keep that money flow going or return back to regular life. And that's sad that that's happening to people. It's
yeah.
like it takes their art. They started off doing it to be silly, to be funny, to entertain. Um, and now they're using it as a way to make money, which is nice. Maybe that's where that phrase comes from. Like the minute like a hobby becomes a job,
Mm.
like, it's not fun
It's not a
anymore.
it's
Like
not a hobby
it's not a
anymore.
hobby anymore. It's not fun. It's not enjoyable. And
Oh, that's so makes so much sense. It
but we
really
can't really
does.
survive though either in this world without making money. That's the other part. Is like, sure, we can do like little forms of art here and there. Like you and I right now, we started this podcast together. Initially, it was like, um, let's do this. It'd be fun. It's something to do, like to give us like some purpose. And then like the more we talk, the more it'd be like, well, it'd be kind of cool if it did go somewhere, but we don't know. And then we teetered with like putting a commercial here and there just to see like how that all worked out. And now I feel like we're more on the side of like, if there's people listening, we want to keep sending it out there. Like it's just, I think we found some good topics now that we really feel like
We're passionate about.
even more passionate about. It's
Yeah.
getting our hearts flowing. And we want to share that. And maybe by sharing, it helps somebody else kind of, you know, search within and find something else new about themselves and, move forward. Maybe that starts that ripple. And maybe
Yeah.
that's all that this is for. Maybe that's all that matters,
Yeah.
right?
For me, it's like art over greed, because Hollywood is such a greedy industry. Like I don't like I picture like my dream life is being an old lady in an old like in a town that has a free theater and I can take all the starring old lady roles like my grandmother did at a local theater and just literally just act for free when I have nothing better to do. Like how much fun would that be? I know you'll be in there with me.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. Because like my mom in Florida, like in her 70s, she's bored out of her mind. So I'm like, I would just be signing up for plays all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. What can I do?
Everybody loves a free actress because it's like, and honestly, every play I've done has been at school. So I've never gotten paid for a play and I've enjoyed it every little bit. And then even with YouTube, I had this conversation with you, like there was such anybody who was on YouTube like in 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008, like it was the prime of YouTube and we were one community. And in the very beginning, there was no money. We were just making art, commenting on each other, making video replies, and like creating these relationships, like some that still lasted till today. And I personally, for me, when the paid partnership programs came in YouTube is kind of like when I think our Katie's Opinion system kind of fell apart. My YouTube show was called Katie's Opinion. And that was because we had four different people that were producing the entire show. Like I would act and write, and there was somebody who would do all of the editing, and then there was also somebody that was in charge of like promoting us and like um staying connected. So like what ended up happening is that once people started making money and our peers were making $50,000 a year and quitting their jobs, we were kind of like we were nowhere near making $50,000 a year.
Yeah.
But we were like, even if we work our butts off and get there, and then we have to split that between four people
Yeah.
and still use some of that money to buy new equipment and stuff, like there
It's a
wasn't
lot of work. And yeah.
exactly to like push us to that next level. We just, if we weren't getting paid, it was going to be really hard for all of us to do it because everybody else was just one person, right?
Yeah.
And that was just our group that was created, and it was magical, and it was so much fun, and it was everything that it was supposed to be in that moment. And, we created art, we made people laugh, like we were literally spreading joy. And that's what was so enjoyable about it because Katie's Opinion was definitely a comedy. And
Yeah.
so, that like that part of the art was like so special. And then once the money came in, it kind of like lost the like special juice about it because everybody's minds went to money. And then it like because it didn't go to art anymore, then I feel like our content wasn't flowing as well as it was before as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and that's like the last thing that I wanted to bring up is like which is so important, like anybody that is out there that wants to make art, go online and make art, like be an influencer. Because even if you're an artist, like if you're somebody who's like blowing glass or something, like there's a spot for you on the internet in pretty much any art form that you're doing, right? People love to watch music, people singing, people love to like watch people paint things while like I could watch that stuff all day long. People make jewelry, like whatever it is, like I really push people to like go out there, be an influencer, and don't do it for the money, do it for the art, like spread your art, spread your heart. And I feel like that's kind of what we get to do on the podcast. And, I have some other ways that I hope I'll, I feel like when you have a 2-year-old, you just really don't have time to do your hobby.
No, that's your hobby. No.
It really is. And you don't like, I feel bad like not paying attention to her. So I'm just trying to like breathe and be like, these moments are only going to last a little bit. And like, you'll get to like writing that play. You'll get to, because it's a lot of work. But either way,
Hmm.
but at least we make the time to do this. And so like, I want people to feel empowered by this and like not feel like you were talking earlier about like how bad you wanted people to want you and it felt really good when they did and then it felt really awful when they slammed the door in your face
Hmm.
and like I feel like we have to like get to a place where we aren't reaching for those things, right?
Yeah.
Like we're finding it within and we're finding our worth by just like posting things on the internet maybe of our own artwork
Hmm.
and not feeling like you need that middleman because that's exactly what's happening in the music industry right now, right? Prince
Yeah.
started with it. He'd be like, "Why are you making all of this money off of the songs that I write?" He
Yeah.
even started like made his own studio in his basement, wouldn't let any producer even in at all, make no decisions, and he still had to give them X amount of money. And so like artists now can just throw their things up on the internet and they can get big and they can just make all the money and not have to share it. So
Yeah.
I also love that Oliver Anthony guy who's just all about not being greedy. Have you heard of him? He has like
I don't
he had the number one song. I don't know, it was like a couple weeks ago. I don't know where it's at now.
I don't know a lot of artists' names today. I've probably heard the song though. You know what I mean? I feel like I was way more in tune with the names of people when I was
Yeah.
younger, but now I'm just like, oh yeah, that song.
Yeah. Well, I think the main thing to learn from him is that he is absolutely choosing art over greed.
Oh,
He
good.
is choosing, like, he's got big overnight, right? He's at number one on the
Okay.
Billboard all of a sudden, and then he's got these concerts and people are trying to like over charge. So like he said that he wants his tickets to be like under, I forget, but like under
Under a certain
$50 or
amount.
something, and they were going to charge 90 and they wouldn't change it, and so he canceled the concert. He's like, I just think that's ridiculous. Like people shouldn't like can't afford. I don't think people should have to spend $100 a person to see me.
Yeah.
And he'll just take like what he needs, like the bare minimal, for what he needs to survive, and then just create music and let the art be like what it's supposed to be. So, I really hope that we can like kind of move that way as an industry, eliminating the greed, leaving those companies behind, and just looking towards the future and like knowing that us artists get to actually create the road. Like we get
Mm-hmm.
to build it and we get to be a part of it, just like I was a part of YouTube back in the day. Like I have gone completely full circle,
Mm-hmm.
starting on the internet and then moving to LA, like going to school, like learning theater, going for all the way from like the TV world all the way to like theater. And now then the pandemic happens and like it's so like there's no jobs, right? Because SAG's
Right.
on strike. Although I am in a non-union city, which in Philly, which helps. So I do have auditions sometimes, but like there really isn't a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
And now, if you want to get a decent job, like someone I know worked for a television station, and then when she was trying to get other jobs, she was told she didn't have enough Instagram followers. And so now she's just
Yeah.
trying to build up her brand on Instagram. So like people literally won't hire you in the industry, even if you're like the best singer in the world. If you don't have enough followers, they're not interested in you. And it's like mind blowing because now I have to build a following as an influencer on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok, whatever like it might be. And I've gone completely full circle. And I should have just skipped grad school and stuck to YouTube.
Yeah.
So, but I'm happy. It's
So
like
you were
good.
on the right track from the beginning.
But I felt like that is the journey that I went on
You
though,
needed to be on that
like
journey.
that was the journey. I had to experience everything to like be where
Yeah.
I'm at. And now I feel like I teach acting, so like I feel like I've got a really strong experience like in
Hmm.
everything to kind of like gear people. Because even people are like, I'm big on Instagram. I'm like please, honey. Katie's opinion. No, just kidding.
Listen, talk to the OG over here. I'll
No,
tell you
I'm
a thing
kidding.
or two.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to start. Actually, my dad recorded however you could do it. He recorded most of my Katie's opinion stuff back in the day. So I have a hard drive with all of those old videos because they could have been lost forever, but they're not. So maybe I'll get permission to post them one day. Because
That's
it would just
really
be
cool.
funny as hell to like see them.
It would be really cool to see them.
Oh my gosh. So we've gone full circle. I hope Hollywood burns.
It definitely needs,
Metaphorically.
yeah, it needs to dismantle and rebuild itself again to be something. And it doesn't necessarily need to be all about this like lifestyles of the rich and famous and like we don't need to have our celebrities here, although I do think to some degree we place them there. No? Like
Totally, but
as
I think
humans?
we're also
Like,
we
go
have
ahead.
in the past, but I really feel like people like with the whole Oprah thing and like when people are turning on Oprah, you're like, "Oh my God."
Yeah, what's going on? Yeah, you
Yeah, like
start questioning all of it, right?
because we would like live by it. Like we treated them like royals. We were like, "Oh my God, like they were wearing that outfit. Like I have to wear that outfit." And like we talked about earlier in the season, like your style should be a reflection of you, not like copying somebody else, right? And like people are waking up to this. I really believe it.
So maybe the other idea about not just putting art out there, but if you're watching it, think about like what you're choosing to watch. Think about what you're choosing to elevate and make like, the next best thing.
Because we
And
have the power. Like
well, we
we,
do. For
that's
now,
what's
we
like
definitely,
surprising. Like we actually have the power to choose and put our attention and energy like where
yeah,
we want to, because that's where the money will flow. Like
yeah,
we don't have like, and I think that's a personal choice for everybody, right? And like I'm still
yeah.
connected to Disney and like all of the things, right? Like I'm not some like
Yeah, there's a lot going on. There's still a lot, right, in all the places that we could,
putting it, right? Like
right.
I have some of my own changes I need to make, but it's like hard and it's not going to be fast and it's going to be a slow burn. I think it could be like 10, 20 years, right? But like I really, really like hope and pray, because also what's so great about the influencer, like the age of the influencer, is that that puts even more control into our hands, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I don't like about Instagram and Facebook, because they really make you have to like pay money to be seen more, right? Where in on TikTok, I feel like if you want to know, like if you write in a hashtag, you will literally see every single video with that hashtag. It's not like the paid ones come up at the top, um or like those ones are like popping up because they know that you've been looking at these, so they'll like pop ones up that they kind of push whatever they want to. But
Right.
TikTok, I really like feel like you can filter through and find exactly what you're looking for and find all the information that you need on that subject.
Yeah, you can. But again, back to that influencer, just like we rose, not maybe you and I, but like people rose Hollywood to be like, to the level that it is today. We can do the same thing with influencers, which means we can also create the beast again in a different way. As you have to really, we really have to pay, like, you just have to pay attention to that. Like, I think when you're watching those videos, or when you are like pick any famous, save in we'll stick with TikTok since we were just talking about it. TikTok stars that rose to fame that are now like having their own reality shows and this and that and whatever. Um, all of the viewers put them there. It was all of the people that stuck them where they are now. And then once they got there, again, demand for more content, more this, more that means I need to pay people to manage like all of this information that's coming my way, which means then people are going to start telling me, now you should probably do this or that. Oh, you're losing some people. You don't want to do that, or we won't work with you anymore. Like it's starting again, just in another way. And we have to be careful about how we're lifting people up and making sure that they are being protected too. Like if you care about what they're doing, protect them as well. Does that make sense,
Well, I mean,
Katie?
comment sections are just like heart-wrenching, right? Like if you read
Yeah.
your comment sections, that's like a whole thing that you also have to be okay with and like have really thick skin for. Um, but like with what you're saying, I feel like people, like for one, like we're like have a little bit more control, right? And like every person's journey is going to be different. So like what you're describing absolutely could be like some young kid. I feel like there's that one girl that like rose to fame during COVID. That was and she has like a reality show now and stuff. And so
Yes.
she's somebody who seems like that. But I also feel like she was also just like dancing a little bit in her parents' like kitchen.
Yeah.
So,
That's all she was doing. And then everybody brought her to here. I think it must have had to do with people just like maybe she has like that girl next door look to them. I don't know I don't know what the reason is for why she got to where
she was like a really cool dancer, and I think it
yeah.
was just so nonchalant. I really have no idea.
Yeah.
But it's just, I think every single person is different. And like most of the time, like a lot of the people that I follow with like the alien stuff and they're kind of or quantum physics, they're kind of like all like 150,000 followers and they
Yeah.
get like 50,000 views a thing.
Yeah.
And like they really seem like they're like super happy to just be able to like express and like have conversations. They feel fulfilled, that they feel like they're helping
Yes.
people out, like spreading information, super open, like you know what I mean? They're not like over the
Yeah.
top or pushy. Like I have a lot of people that when certain things come up, like I trust that they actually read through the entire congressional like
Yeah.
bill or whatever it was that I would never freaking read in my life.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, well, they'll just explain it to me.
And then show you sources to find it. Oh, gee, thanks. Let me go look through this. That's the paragraph. Okay, page what?
Right, but like how cool is that they might have gone to school to be a lawyer or whatever and they have this really good talent and they're like, I'm reading these documents and seeing this messed up stuff in these bills and like and getting their opinion, but then I can also go to somebody else with a completely opposite opinion and get what they have to
Yeah.
say. And then I
Yeah.
can make my own, like, and then I can look at the things and then make my own decision. And so,
Right.
like, it gives, there's power in the influencer because we get a little bit of everything rather than
Mm-hmm.
like one view, right? And that's
Yeah,
what I've been loving about podcasts because I'm
that's
able
true.
to like I've been listening to a ton of like podcasts about quantum physics and listening to like real like scientists and like hearing about somebody in the news and like looking them up and like finding out their backstory
Mm-hmm.
and just pretty much anything you can put in the subject and like find it on a podcast. And I try to listen to like a ton of different views and then form like what makes sense to me out of listening to everything.
Yeah.
So that's really cool because it's not one centralized thing making decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And so let your true art shine through. We made this episode way too long.
This is like 2 hours.
Yeah,
We
like
might have to
exactly.
do two parts. I don't know. Hollywood stories. This needed to be long. I'm so sorry, but
It was just too much fun. We really just had so much to say. Like, I hope we were like, we kept it positive, but like, there's just like wounds and we're cleansing them.
I
Just
think
even
we did.
talking about them and like letting it out there and like, um, just let's move forward. Like, let's just have like a positive future. I wish the SAG-AFTRA group like so much luck on their strike. I'm not personally a part of SAG, but I
Hmm.
really, really just, pray that they find like what they need,
Hmm.
and I also hope that they hold strong, right? Like
Yeah, stick true to what you feel you deserve.
they deserve a lot and they deserve a lot more than they've been offered. So anything else you wanted to say?
I don't, but we thank you for joining us. We hope you liked both the part one and part two, and we'll see you again for our next episode on what makes the heartbeat. Don't forget to check us out on Instagram.
What makes it's what WMTHB podcast. That's the Instagram. I know
You
I
know,
always
I
have to
never,
like say it once.
you
What?
know, I never say it right. That was the first time I think I've ever said check us out on Instagram.
You're the best. You're the best.
All right, so that's it. Thank you. Have a good rest of your day, night, lunch break, whatever. See
Peace
you
out,
soon.
Hollywood.